Something's got to change with the Oklahoma Sooners offense.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at GameTime. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. And again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners offense hit rock bottom against the Texas Longhorns. It was a performance that, frankly, it's hard to excuse. Whether you're Brent Venables, Seth Littrell, John Finley, the quarterbacks, the offensive line, there's not really any excuse for what Oklahoma put on the field on Saturday.
Do we consider that rock bottom? Because I still feel like the 49-0 situation was probably the lowest we could have probably gone. But you're right. We're fighting the 49-0 game for the worst performance that we've seen on offense in the last 3 years. And and you're not wrong, because as I look at this more and I'll go back and rewatch and I'm looking at everything, it just baffles me that from top to bottom, things just does not seem like it's in any type of organization. And that is 100% on the coaching staff. I don't even put this on the young players, because I love the tweet that you put out that literally just sparked my thought process around, okay, we've got a lot of things we've got to work on. And that tweet was, you said, and I quote, "The Oklahoma Sooners offensive staff asked their true freshman quarterback to drop back 40 times and caught 15 design QB runs. 55 of OU's 72 offensive snaps relied on Michael Hawkins Jr. to make a play." You can't do that with a true freshman like him. And the one thing I also noticed more and more as I watched is Hawkins is not an option quarterback. That's not his skill set. That's not his game. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he's very elusive. He's a passer. And he can't, the option obviously doesn't work because he doesn't show his dynamic flash until he's truly scrambling. And that's just showing on the tape. You haven't seen him really just break a run and just go. You only see him scramble it and then get a big run like the touchdown against Auburn. So we were hoping to see more of that. You're not getting that. That's just not his game. So now we've got to figure out what's next.
Yeah, in addition to that, just asking any true freshman quarterback, and really, I mean, I had somebody reply to that and say, oh, you're asking your quarterback to go make a play. Crazy thought. Well, it's not just that you're asking your quarterback to carry your team. It's you're putting all of the decision-making on his shoulders, because it's the same thing we talked about with Jackson Arnold with the read option, right? In the RPO game, you're asking your quarterback to make decisions and they're not making the correct one. Similar thing was kind of happening in this one with the option game, with the read option game. It just isn't there, either because Texas was defending it really, really well, or because Oklahoma just was asking the quarterback to make the choice and they weren't making the right choice. Some of it comes back to, if you want to run the ball, just simply run the ball. Don't try to do too much with it. If you want to throw the ball, just simply throw the ball. Run play action and throw the ball. Quit with the RPO game. Quit with the option game. Just create a simplistic offense that it makes it easy on your quarterback to just go make a decision.
And typically I would 100% agree with you there. I'm about 75% in agreement, and this is the reason why. The next complaint we would have is, where's the creativity in the offense? Why aren't we doing things to make it a little bit more creative and allow Michael to move, right? It's unfortunate for the coaching staff. It's a lose-lose. So they need to find the thing that's going to work and actually make it work. With the play call, like you're right on the running part, and that's where that big 75% comes in. It's that outside zone was working. Mm-hmm. But Texas was smart enough to recognize one thing that they knew would be a problem for them, in which they've had problems with in the past. A quarterback that can move. They decided to have Anthony Hill spy him the whole game. But their spy was a lot different than I've ever seen from most spies. Instead of him just kind of following and shadowing his movement, he found the hole and filled it. That's what he did. So any spot that he saw that Michael Hawkins could have scrambled through and got like 5 or 6 yards, he ran to that hole and blocked it immediately. That way, Michael had to kind of turn and figure out another way. And so it looked like the entire game we were running a one-read run type offense. That's not going to be our game. The problem you run into that is even you pointed this out when we went live, you see open dudes to your left and right. And it's like, you've got to go through the progressions a lot faster and get rid of the ball. Or you need to make your second read a quick dump to your running backs. You got to leverage the checkdowns. And so again, that's where you're also right. We've got to make it simple, easy, and make it to where we can just complete passes and go. Because in time, we saw against Auburn, that deep pass will show. Teams will start to come forward, and they're going to attack only that shows short passes, so you can launch it over their heads. And J.J. Hester will catch those deep passes now, that at least we've seen. Keep testing it. Zion Kearney got himself 4 catches for 45 yards, so I'm feeling good that he's starting to get himself into a groove. And the funny thing is, the wide receivers actually blocked very well in this game. Why don't we keep doing swing passes, right? Maybe some screens. I mean, that screen pass that Quinn threw to the tight end to Gunnar Helms, masterful. Because he just ran to the side and he took his time and he lobbed it over to him because nobody was there. Why won't we do stuff like that? So that's where I say the creativity needs to come in. But the other problem you run into is when you get too creative, people are going to complain, oh, stop getting cute, go simple. We need a balance. We need a good 80-20 of super simple, then give me a little bit of wrinkles of creativity. But the one thing in that creativity cannot be, it can't be the option. Option's got to go. Kick it out just like you did the RPO. We just realized that the RPO and like the speed option and all of that, triple option, the 2-back set with option, it ain't working for us. It's just our skill set's not there right now.
Yeah, I think they ran one wide receiver screen in this one, and it was the throw to Brennan Thompson, and it just didn't amount to anything, and then they went away from it. Like, that's a play that you can go back to help your quarterback out and to help your run game out. I mean, they say that the wide receiver screen game is an extension of the run game. And as much as I've not been a fan of that in years past, for this offense, for this team, it needs to be a little bit bigger part of your offense. You've got to figure out a way to get the ball out of your quarterback's hands quicker. I like the idea of some running the running back screen game, the swing passes. We didn't see very much of that. And those are all elements of an offense that can actually help you and help your young quarterback out. And they got to figure out a way to get that reinserted into the offense. Just make it snap the ball, quick throw, done. Give him some confidence, allow him to settle in a little bit, as opposed to making everything down the field. If he's not seeing it down the field, quit making him try to throw it down the field. If he's not willing to let it loose down the field, then quit calling a bunch of pass game down the field. As much as I love the downfield passing game, if it's not there or your quarterback's not willing to throw it, then quit calling it.
Yeah, don't even put him in that scenario. Right.
Yeah. And so some of it comes also back to just this offense just not really having much of an explosive pass game down the field. Max Olson of ESPN shared this on X. He said Oklahoma's offense has generated 13 plays of 20-plus yards this season. That's 133rd in the FBS. Only 0-5 Kennesaw State has fewer. Miami and Ole Miss have both put up 13 in a single game this season. Oklahoma's gained 20-plus yards on 3.4% of its offensive plays this season. Per True Media Sports, that percentage currently ranks third worst among all Power 4 offenses over the past decade. So the explosive game is not there. Whether it's in the run game or the pass game, it's not there. So you're going to have to win by 1,000 cuts. You're going to have to use the short to intermediate passing game and just needle people to death. That's all you're going to be able to do if you're not going to be able to win downfield or willing to throw the ball downfield. Something's got to give. Seth Littrell, Joe John Finley, Kevin Johns, Michael Hawkins, Jackson Arnold, Brent Venables, Bill Bedenbaugh, DeMarco Murray, Emmett Jones, everybody on that offensive staff, plus the head coach, have to do something this week to figure out something more effective, more efficient in this offense. And maybe some of that is going back and opening up the quarterback competition once again. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professional like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time to hire or resources to hire. So LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the job even easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. So go post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So speaking of LinkedIn, there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be asking the question, should Seth Littrell keep his job? And a lot of people have already answered that question for themselves. That's a question that Brent Venables and his staff are going to have to, and really Joe Castiglione and Joseph Harris are going to have to kind of wade into the weeds. I don't know if that's a decision that needs to be made right now. Yes, the offensive game plan was terrible. The play calling was not good. The preparation was not good. The execution was not good. I just don't know if you can attribute all of that to the offensive coordinator without taking into account the injuries that they've dealt with along the offensive line, the quarterback changes that you've suffered, and the inconsistency at quarterback that you've had all season long. So if that's a discussion that they have and come to that decision, I completely understand it. If they decide to move forward, I also completely understand it.
Yeah, and I know Brent Venables mentioned that in the presser that the quarterback change was not even in the discussion at the time, and I'm wondering why. I'm kind of curious to what made him believe that no, we need to stick it with one place and continue to go. You could see in Jackson Arnold's face, he wanted to get in that game. He wanted to take a stab at it. He wanted to try. You saw the competitive fire. It looked like it was starting to light back in him. So now we'll find out how practices go this come week. You know, Venables is going to have to answer a lot of those questions, especially preparing for South Carolina. You're going to have to prepare both of them at this point. And I don't know if there's going to be a true competition because we've seen Hawkins actually be willing to throw it a lot more downfield in comparison to what we saw from Jackson. But at the same time, that discussion's going to have to probably happen. Now, I love your point of the offensive coordinator. I know everybody wants them fired. I put out a little tweet on X, and I just said it's time. You can interpret that any way you want. It literally went no direction. And I said that because you have two options in a way. You could fire your OC. You could fire both your OCs, basically, and promote some analysts up and kind of reset the season. Or you can bring in an additional analyst who has had prior success in other places and see if he can help with trying to figure out what is causing the problem or where the bottleneck is in the offense. You can go either direction. No matter what, you're going to have to figure something out with these quarterbacks. Something's going to have to happen, right? I wondered if they even thought about bringing Brendan Zurbrugg in, let him try to get a couple throws in. I know that Casey's knee is not the best, so you really don't want to go to him unless it's like a break glass in case of emergency situation. But I do believe that Hawkins brings the fire for the team. It appears that the team is really rallying behind him. You've heard it in a lot of the comments. So I know everybody wants somebody fired. We fired Josh Heupel because of a similar type of performance, but Heupel had an entire season to try to figure it out. After that season, it's done. And so the cards that were dealt for this offensive side, you typically don't see anyone get fired because of it, because that's kind of where the grace comes in of, yeah, you lost 5 wide receivers, 5 key components. You also lost your offensive line was shuffled around. You had to go through 4 centers at one point. It's all the luck of the injuries there. There's not much you can do about. So you give them a little grace there. At the same time, sometimes your quarterback just needs to make a play. That needs to be them. If they are him, as a lot of people would like to give people that title, then he needs to be him. Go out there and make a play. You make the play. You take what the coach gives you. You move whatever you feel like makes the most sense, and boom, you make a play. Sometimes it's on their eyes, their arms, their thought processes as much as it is the OC. But in this entire situation, we'll continue to blame the coaching staff because they've got to prepare them better. But John, you make a valid point. when is it time to go ahead and try for another quarterback competition? Because neither one of your quarterbacks decided they wanted to throw it downfield in the game. They needed to throw it downfield.
Yeah, and I don't know if they need to reopen the quarterback situation right now. I don't know if that's where you need to head with it. At the same time, man, it feels like if you're going to, now's the time.
Yep.
Even if you wanted to run a 2-quarterback set, they say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Well, right now, the passing game is not really going anywhere. The offense is not really going anywhere. So what do you have to lose by trying both guys? You don't really have anything to lose. Listen,
Nope.
If you believe in Michael Hawkins, by all means, continue to run with Michael Hawkins. At the same time, if you believe in Michael Hawkins, let him throw the dang ball. Quit pulling him back. Quit preaching turnovers. Quit getting in their heads about protecting the football, and just live with what you live with a true freshman quarterback. There's going to be mistakes. You cannot coach aggressiveness out of these players because they've got to be able to go and make a play. And I mean, there were several times where it's like the throw was right there and he's looking right at it. But because I think there's been such a push against, the quarterbacks, making them protect the ball, telling them, hey, we got to not allow any turnovers, not give the ball away, that they're not willing to throw the ball. And so listen, I have an affinity for Jackson Arnold. I think he's a really good player. I think he's got a ton of talent. I think Michael Hawkins has a ton of talent. I think he's got the right men's mindset and the mentality to bounce back from this performance. At the same time, the coaches just need to get out of his head and say, hey, here's the play call. Go throw the ball. Like, just sling it.
You know that there's going to be an opening, especially on the check down. It's okay to take the check down and let the running backs do something in space. We've seen them do good things in space. We've seen them do bad things in space. But go ahead and give everybody the opportunity to do something. And that's one of the things you're going to have to try. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be a little stressful. But there's so many ways that you have to find a fix here. And I hate that, we have to sit here and speculate with such a broad stroke of options. That's where, to me, the problem lies. We've got so many different things that we can consider when it comes to what we could try that you almost don't have anything that you can actually try. We kind of talked about that a little bit. You have too many options. Sometimes you don't have any options. So it's at this... I want to say you need to go ahead and pull it back to the studs, kind of like Venables mentioned when he first got here and got the job. You don't have that kind of time. You got South Carolina coming up. You need to find a way to get some activity, especially because that pass rush at South Carolina is actually good. They're dangerous in that capacity. So you're going to have to find a way to get something going, get rid of the ball. But then from there, you can't throw too much weight on your defense because it appears that the defense mentally kind of quits when they see that they're literally down bad. Like, there's no chance of anything happening. It's felt like in that Texas game. They did everything you wanted in the first quarter. That was the perfect first quarter for what you needed out of this team. I had Texas people saying that they thought that Quinn was hurt. They said, yep, Quinn needs to get out. He doesn't look like he's the same dude. He doesn't look right. They kept saying it, and I'm just like, this is what happens when the defense is clicking on all cylinders. Then we forced that fumble, and we didn't hustle to the ball. Then we fumble the ball. Then we fumble it again. And to me, it was like defense is like, look, man, what y'all want us to do? We can't score touchdowns that easily. They're not going to even throw the ball in a space where we can even pick it off now. They know. They're not dumb.
Right.
Sarkisian ran that match. And that's what I would like us to do. I like us to get to the point where we're just creating little spots. Because late in the game, you start seeing throws across the middle and guys were open. It's like, oh, wow, look at that catch. Man, can we do more of those? Give me some Kearney on a deep curl. It's okay. If the DB decides to cheat up on that route, move into a slant. Find a way to get those DBs to stay close so that you can go ahead and put a little bit of a max protect or an additional set of protection and just launch that thing deep and let somebody run underneath it. If you do that enough, even if you don't complete them, they're going to start chasing them. They're going to start stepping back and saying, all right, watch out for the deep pass. And if it doesn't work, right, or if it does work, then you really got it open to where that middle is wide open for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and listen, this isn't to completely dump on the entire thing because I did like some of the bootleg stuff that they were doing with Michael Hawkins.
Me too. A lot.
Getting him out in space. It's just you need to then get a guy open, and you need to throw the football when the guy is open. You need to time, like anticipate him coming open and throw the football. So listen, there's a lot that needs to be fixed, and maybe it doesn't get fixed until the off season, when you can actually either make an offensive coordinator change or really tailor your offense to whichever quarterback you're going with at that point, or having a full-blown quarterback competition going into next year. We'll see. But you do have to get some things right ahead of South Carolina. We're going to talk about how big of a difference was there between Oklahoma and Texas coming up. Were there any bright spots? There might have been a couple. Game Time Picks is it's a feature that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I mean, there are a ton of tickets right now available for Oklahoma's day game against South Carolina. Go to Game Time, download the app. You can go to gametime.co on your desktop as well, and you can see all the great tickets available to you this weekend. They have curated deals to make it even easier to find the best price on great seats, and they have the best ticketing service policy in the industry, most flexible. They will guarantee you 110% of the difference if you find a lower price somewhere else, because Game Time has the lowest prices available in the industry as well. So go download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Do you want to start with some bright spots before we continue to dump on this team from Saturday's game?
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fun just dumping, just throwing all the bad stuff
How
out there.
How far off is Oklahoma from the Texas Longhorns? No, listen, Eli Bowen, dude, played a great game. I do want to start there because, listen, us, we're not negative Nellies. We're not, some certain radio stations in Oklahoma City that all they want to do is tear down the team and the program. And listen, we've done that. We did that for 50 minutes on the live show on Saturday. You can go watch that. We've done it for 20 minutes here. Let's talk Eli Bowen. The dude is playing some of the best football on the team right now.
The one thing I can tell you is with Eli Bowen, we've seen some with Robert Spears-Jennings. He's one of the higher graded safeties. We've seen a lot of positives on the defensive side of the ball that a lot of people don't want to recognize. You think that the only way your defense is going to be successful is if they shut down every single thing another team does. But we've always talked about complementary football, right? But I'll tell you this. We've held every team that we've played well under their average for the season. At this point, we've done it. Texas was averaged over 470 yards a game or something of that nature. They were like 406 in this game. Quinn didn't even get 200 yards passing. We did a good job of holding teams under where they normally would be. And to me, if they were going to hit those numbers, they would have blown those out of the water within the first three quarters. Did you say, they pulled back in the fourth? They should have got it in the first three. That's typically how good those teams are. If they pull back in the fourth, because they've already surpassed the number they need to for the entire game. So the defense to me is still there. And I think that next season, I think the defense is going to improve even more with players like an Eli Bowen, who's going to be able to go out there playing corner. Even at his size, he was a problem for them. He's a really good tackler. He's very technical with his tackling. He's also fast enough to keep up with some of these burners that be running past people. And he's physical. So, that's kind of the one thing that's the benefit of a shorter corner is that the running joke is they've been fighting their whole lives because they're short guys. And so because they're short guys have been fighting their whole lives, they fight very well against tall wide receivers. Mm-hmm. They've been fighting for women. They've been fighting for attention. They've been fighting for all of it because they're short kings. And so he's out there, he battling it out with those wide receivers, and that's what you need. You're going to need those sparks. The linebacker room looked like they were trying to get themselves really, really going. I think that long term, in that capacity, the defense is going to continue to flourish, especially as you add those additional young safeties. John, I'm really happy with the way the defense is playing. I was disappointed in the Texas game because the tackling was pretty brutal. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it felt like they were just defeated in that game. But overall, we're putting together the defensive product that we said that we wanted. This is what efficiency top 10. And I think that it's going to continue to rise as we continue to hold teams under what their numbers are. We just got to make sure that our offense can actually add to the score. And to even add to that, on the offensive side, young wide receivers, like I said, they were blocking. They looked good on the blocks. Those outside zones looked really good. Jake Roberts was lighting people up on his blocks. I was like, okay, look at him holding his blocks. And he got like an 80-something grade on the run block in this game. And that is awesome. You need tight ends that can block. Mm-hmm. We were starting to see some positive pieces. There's very small silver linings in there. And like you said, we're very cautious optimists here. We always try to find a silver lining. If we can get more Zion Kearney out there using his big frame to really get going, long term will be a lot better, because regardless of what we say in the complaints, we're going to make a change at OC. We're going to. It's just going to be in December. It'll be a nationwide search. We'll look for the best. We don't want a gimmicky offense. We want an offense that's going to complement the defense. And I think that we're going to be fine with that part long term.
You mentioned Zion Kearney. He had the second most snaps among wide receivers in this game, behind just Brennan Thompson. He did grade out fairly well. Finished in the green. Had the second highest run blocking grade. To me, he's a starter the rest of the season.
Yep.
I don't care what else is available to you. I don't care who else is available. I need more Zion Kearney. I need to get him as much experience the rest of this year so that you can have better depth and better experience going into next year. Who knows who's going to be available to you next year that's going to come back, whether it's Jaden Gibson or Nick Anderson, or, could Jalil Farouk ultimately redshirt this year because of his injury? We'll see. But I need Zion Kearney to get as much experience and playing time this year, because he was a bright spot from this game. The 4 catches, 45 yards. He had the longest play of the day on one of his receptions. So you've got to continue to feed that and fuel that and develop that. I also think Eli Bowen has earned the right to start the rest of the year. He's played really, really consistent ball, especially as his snap count has increased. He finished third on the team in snaps on Saturday, behind just Danny Stutzman. And I want to say it was Billy Bowman that had the most snaps in the game. So continue to roll Eli Bowen out there. Yes, Nick Harbor. He's a tall dude, really, really fast. I just want somebody out there that's going to compete and going to make things a lot difficult on the opposing wide receivers. So give me more Eli Bowen. I thought the defensive line played well. It just when they were getting kind of gashed, the linebacker group wasn't there to fill. Right. But there were I think for a lot of this game, for 3 quarters, really, you take out that second quarter where everything just kind of fell apart. Defensively, offensively, it all fell apart. Not to quote Lincoln Park, but those other 3 quarters, I felt like the defense played well. And so it's hard to view Oklahoma as too far off from being, an SEC contender. But you got to get your offense fixed. If you have no offense, you're not going to be able to compete with the best in any conference, let alone the SEC.
What they're going to have to do is, to me, you play Peyton and Eli together and you bracket Harbor. That's one problem. You're going to probably bracket Nick Harbor. That's going to be your best bet. I mean, Nick is a 10-100 guy. He's fast. He's stupid fast. Mm-hmm. So you bracket the heck out of him with the Bowen brothers. You tell them, look, I don't care. Yeah, you guys have played ball together for years. You understand how to communicate with each other and how to work things out. Y'all work that out. That's your guy. Both of you. Figure out how you want to be under and over. Put them on the side of the ball together. Because Peyton played 50 snaps, so we got to see a lot more of him. He was one of our better tacklers. Wasn't the best in coverage, but he was one of our better tacklers in there. And what he needs to do is, like I said, work with his brother on how they're going to bracket Nick Harbor together. And then from there, as you said, the defensive line, when they were starting off, they were getting some pressure. There was causing problem. Grayson Halton was out there terrorizing for a bit. And then it's just the linebackers were not filling the gaps like we would normally do. That's where we start to lose a lot. Now, Kobe McKenzie had a really good game, and I think he's going to be your leader, him and Kip, next year in that linebacker room. We didn't get a really good showing by Lewis Carter, unfortunately, but I know that that's going to do nothing but grow as he gets additional experience. But you're right. I need more Eli. Wide receiver, I'm going to need more Zion Kearney starting. Give me Zion and JJ. Give me your 2 big dudes that way, and then rotate your your slots. But those two need to play majority of the game because I feel like both of them were probably your better blockers throughout this entire game. They were the ones really looking like they did well overall.
Yeah, so there's a lot that has to get better, and it has to get better quick because that South Carolina defense is no joke.
It's good.
But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube, so go hit that notification bell and that subscribe button over there to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube as well. Follow me at John9Williams. You can also read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll catch you then. Boomer!
Sooner.